Hi all! Everything in my video is pulled from the public domain, and I am using them under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Everything I say is my own opinion. You should look into this information for yourselves, but I'm pretty sure. Good morning, everybody. Oh my goodness, we have a lot to cover again today. We have an Omid story, we have an Andrew story, we have a Harry story, and then we're going to get back into this whole South Africa debacle thing that's happening. So let's just jump right in and get there, shall we? Because there's a lot. Let's go. Our obligatory cloud photos, we're going to stick with that for right now instead of space photos. This one is from, again, on Twitter. It's called Curiosity, and this is sunset from above the clouds at 30,000 feet near Oahu, Hawaii. Isn't that just gorgeous? Next up, I have this photo sent to me by one of my followers in New Zealand who did not give me permission to put her name out, so I won't. But this was apparently taken from her apartment on August 16th. Isn't that just the most unusual cloud pattern? I mean, I just love stuff like that. And finally, this photo was also brought to my attention by one of my followers. It's called Man Captures a Breathtaking Image of the Total Eclipse. That was done on August of 2017. Absolutely phenomenal photo. I hope they were wearing the prerequisite goggles so they didn't go blind, but okay, beautiful photo. All right, let's move on to our stories for today. Okay, so we're going to start off talking about HD Tudor. Now, of course, it's all over the internet. His channel was shut down and people were like, oh, it was fabulous. He was the worst hate account. So let me tell you why he was shut down for those of you who are unaware. And this is right from him, directly from him, okay? He created an in-depth analysis of Tom Bauer's book, Revenge. He talked about it. Well, Viacom CBS, on behalf of the publishers of Revenge, put out copyright claims 1 month after the series started, which resulted in copyright strikes against his channel. So he and Viacom amicably resolved the situation. He removed the series and they agreed to remove their copyright complaint, which they did. He absolutely showed the emails proving that that was removed, okay? So they said, we're going to remove our copyright claim and therefore you remove the strikes from the channel. They wrote to YouTube, I think at least 3 times from what he said. And even though they wrote to them, YouTube did not withdraw the copyright strike, which is why his channel was terminated. So I think it was done in error. I think it was simply an error on YouTube's part, seeing as how they put my channel back after it was discovered that I was the victim of a bot attack. I'm pretty sure that once they review the paperwork and they see that the copyright strikes were withdrawn, which is one of the options you get. Just so you know, when you get a copyright strike, one of the things they say is you can reach out to the person who made the strike and you can resolve it amicably. So that's one of the options, and they resolved it amicably. So let's see what happens. But personally, I think that the whole thing will go away and I think his channel will be restored. In the meantime, for those of you who are unaware, he is still on YouTube. Yes, he is. He has a channel that is known by the name of Knowing the Narcissist. Here's a picture of it. So you guys feel free to follow him on there and you can still listen to him and, you know, nothing's really changed. But I'm pretty sure the other channel will come back. All right, let's move on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now let's move on. We have another blind item that's popped up, and you know how I feel about the blind items. They're usually pretty spot on. And what this one says basically is Omid is trying to work his way back into Megan's good graces by writing piece after piece praising her to the moon. Now, you and I know that we've seen these pieces. He's writing one thing after another. She's leading a movement, etc., etc. But the blind item continues. It's such a suck-up job, but she loves it, and she sent him an email that just said thanks, and he's apparently showing it to everybody. Now, here's one of the things that he wrote that points out what I'm saying about the blind item. So here are a few examples of the articles and the tweets that he's putting up, everything in support of the Sussexes, but then he put up stuff like this that really crossed the line. I know it's blurry, I'm sorry, but as you can see, Jan Moyer, I think that's how you say it, from the Daily Mail put up an article, and it talks about Meghan and the fact that she sees herself in the same league as Oprah, Adele, Beyonce, etc. And then she brings up the dog that, I told you guys she's adopting yet another dog, and this lady calls the dog a dumb mutt. So what does Omid do? He claims that even though she was talking about the dog, actually she was talking about Meghan. Omid tweeted, "The tragic irony of a Daily Mail columnist using a racial slur to rant about the biracial host of a podcast, dehumanizing women." Are you kidding? It clearly said that she was talking about the dog. But this is what Omid does. He's trying to stir the pot and get people to attack this journalist. That's what he does. So to Omid, I want to say, putting out false information is wrong, but since he does it, you'll see that somebody took his Wikipedia page and changed his occupation to bellend. Oops. Yeah, moving on. All right, next up we have Andrew. Andrew, who continues to bother his mother and try to push for a way to come back because he knows that once William or Charles takes the throne, it's over for him. I mean, every time I hear about this guy or I see his face, I just want to run up to him, grab his shoulders, shake him, with his head flopping back and forth and say, "For the love of God, will you wake up and smell the coffee? It's over for you. Go away. And for the love of God, leave your mom alone." Oh. All right, moving on. Here it comes, the backlash for Harry taking the private jet to go 1,000 miles to a polo match and then the private jet to go home, and the double standard. Because remember, peasants like us aren't supposed to take private jets. It's only for the uber elitist, right? So we know that the backlash has started. He's a hypocrite. Nobody wants to hear anything he has to say. I wish I could be at one of his events, so when he talks about the carbon footprint, I can be like, "And what about you?" Like, serious, what about you? And on another note, I just want to say, and I mean this with all sincerity, when was the last time you saw that much genuine happiness and emotion on Harry's face? And isn't it interesting that it is occurring while Meghan's not with him or around him or near him? He is with his friends, he's playing polo, and he's not dealing with Meghan. And look how happy he looks. Shocking. All right, let's move on. All right, ladies and gents, here we go. We're at the podcast again. Now, I told you guys before that they hyperinflated the numbers to make it look like it was this big thing because Spotify had to write off, as we heard from Neil Sean, they had to basically write off the $28 million they gave them, and they have to try somehow to recoup that money. I can't imagine what kind of contract they signed that they weren't able to get their money, but it's all over the place. It didn't do well. I mean, if you look above, that's exactly my point. Somebody wrote that 14,000 people had watched at that point, and it was rated 4.1, and Joe Rogan was 494,000 views, rated 4.8, and he was second to Meghan Markle. Do you see my point? It didn't do well, guys. They hyperinflated the numbers. So the podcast did not do well. Spotify hyperinflated the numbers, and now Meghan's having another problem. She can't get people to get on there to be interviewed. Yes, Neil Sean reported that people don't want to go on the podcast, but the one person who answered or who was asked and has yet to say yes is Princess Beatrice. Could you imagine if she went on that podcast? Now, Neil Sean is saying that Beatrice and Eugenie are very quietly healing rifts with Meghan Markle, blah, 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 and whatever. But the problem is people don't want to go on there. And he's even saying that if Eugenie goes on there, everything could be dissected, and what would they talk about? It's not good. Neil Sean is telling people that she's already got 9 of the 12 people, and that's leading into the next problem, is that she's basically being told to shut up because she's talking over. If the rest of the podcasts are anything like what went on with Serena Williams, why would anybody want to go on that podcast? She just talks about them. She talks over them, and she one-ups them no matter what they say, like it's crazy. Now, I completely agree with this tweet that was put up. When it takes 20 months and the entire team was responsible for that. It's a catastrophe. But even worse is if you look at the underlined section here, there was a fact checker on there. A fact checker. And the fact checker didn't bother to catch the fact that there was no fire. You know what I mean? Ugh, it's horrible. I mean, people are upset. I mean, how about this picture above while she was in South Africa? That would have been the perfect opportunity to take Archie with her, but she didn't. Instead, she brought them a bag of secondhand used clothing and made them sit on the floor. It didn't go well. People are all over Twitter now pointing out how many countries she has upset. She upset South Africa with the things that she said. She upset the UK with her cries of racism. She upset Dumbarton because she didn't want to use the name because it's got dumb in it. She upset Australia, saying she didn't like it. She upset Fiji, the whole UN women's thing. I mean, country after country, she's going to have to go into exile somewhere by the time this whole thing is over. Even France. This is a magazine from France that I translated with my translator app. There you go. It's spot on. Now, for those of you who are unaware, there is something trending on Twitter. I believe it's pronounced vote sec. I've had a lot of people write to me and tell me it's sick, it's sock, whatever. But it's trending all over Twitter because she's upset so many people with the lies and the things that she said. It's, in one part it's trending in Canada, it's trending in South Africa, it's trending all over the world. And people have had a lot to say and they're really not happy with the things that she said. Now, here's an example. This tweet is exactly what I'm talking about. She denigrated South Africa by lying. They're having problems with, their tourism. And now she's alluded to the fact that it's not safe for visitors. That's absolutely correct. But a lot of these are coming out, and there's so many of them. All I can do is list them for you. I put them on here with a little bit of background music so that you guys understand the depth of her lies and what it has done to South Africa. So watch this. FYI, some of these are really worth reading, so feel free to freeze the screen so you can read the longer ones because they're really heartfelt. Okay, here we go. So now we're coming to the end here. I just want to cover a few things. I completely agree with this tweet, which I previously showed you, that some felt used, others were withdrawing their support, and others felt that the British media was tweaking the story somehow. Yes, the Sussex squad was trying to blame the British media, saying that the words were taken out of context when everybody in South Africa clearly heard those words said by Meghan herself. Here's some examples. This person writes, "It's amazing how people choose to remain ignorant. She chose her words carefully," And you notice at the bottom, it says the British media knows that they're dealing with ignorant people who can be easily manipulated. That's right, everybody. The UK are stupid, easily manipulated people. What they think about the rest of the world, no thoughts. All right, finally, I need to end with this article that I found. And what I like about the article is that it talks about the fact that Harry has been relegated to a walk-on portion. In other words, during the podcast, he walked on and made a comment about, Serena's hair, and it's really vibing. And the article says, "I wonder what the men who served alongside Harry in Afghanistan think of that." When she launched her children's book, he was seen in the video juggling, her 40 by 40. He's lost the respect of his country, his family, his friends, even Prince Philip during his final days. How humiliating, the article points out, is it for a man who served in the army for 10 years, rising to the rank of captain, a record flying Apache helicopters, and all of a sudden, that's what he's been reduced to. So the article ends with, "He's become a walk-on part in the Meghan show, eclipsed by his wife's ambition. And I never thought I'd say this, but I feel sorry for Harry." Yeah, I don't feel sorry for Harry. Harry made his bed, now he's lying in it. All right, you guys, I want those comments. I want to know what you're thinking about all of this information. Can you believe Andrew? Just leave your mom alone. Andrew. Oh my goodness. Somebody needs to grab a hold of that man. Okay. Leave your comments below. Thank you to those who have donated through my coffee fund and through my thanks button. You guys know how much my legendary love of coffee. Thank you. And don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter, Getter, Rumble. You can email me. Don't forget to check that subscribe button and hit that bell. And if you've already hit the button, double check and just make sure you're still subscribed, because people are still being unsubscribed. It's the weirdest thing. All right. And as always, you guys, have a great day.